Let's read what you wrote from your book here. My eyes welled up and my face began trembling. The scene was perfect. Looking out at my career with a face full of blood, sweat, and tears, slowly I turned. Just like the heroes of old, I rode off into the sunset. I felt an immediate sense of joy when I walked through the curtain. Vince wrapped me in a big hug despite my bloodied state and his expensive jacket. Hunter was through next and he hugged me as well. Even Stephanie was up for a hug, even with the knowledge that her dress would be history. Is this a pretty perfect exit, do you think?
Yeah, it really is. It's the perfect. It's the perfect exit. And if I could rewrite my own history, I never would have wrestled. I would have had to come back against Randy because you're allowed one comeback match. I would have done the tag with The Rock and followed it up with the match at Randy, and then never wrestled again. Because I think everyone accepts that you're going to have one comeback match. Uh, I wouldn't have done a match 6 weeks later. I would have done those two matches, and that would have been it. But that would have meant no Edge match in 2006. But you could tell just comparatively that I was down to 270 in 2004. When I came back to WrestleEdge, I was back up over 300 pounds. And I'd gone down from 330 to 270 in about 6 months' time. And I was, really wanted to make that the best match it could possibly be. Came up short, I thought, in the tag team match, the 3-on-2 at Mania, and then acquitted myself. Is that the right word? A month later. Yeah. But if I could, that was a great ending to a career.
Meltzer loved it too. He wrote, he was the classic overachiever who defied all the odds and was possibly the single greatest influence inside the ring of styles changing in the business of the past 10 years. In a career destined because he wasn't that great athletically and didn't have what was believed to be the right look and physique for being mid card for life, he ended up, when his career came to a close, as one of the biggest five stars in North America and even as a best selling author. In the end, he went out with the glory but without the storyline ego, putting over the world champion twice on pay per view in his own specialty matches, and even in tag matches on TV, and in every angle over the final weeks of his career. Hunter Hearst Helmsley long since earned his spot as the top heel in the industry today, but if he is remembered someday as one of the top heels in history, he owes a lot of it to the credibility Foley gave him in these last 2 months. In many ways, from hard work to unselfishness about making others look good, to being a student of the game and probably truly loving pro wrestling more than nearly anything else, he gave enough of his body, perhaps parts of his brain. He gave it so willingly and so happily, whether big money was involved or not, and not for the selfish glory of bragging about scars in the bar to get over to nobody, but more to satisfy his own vision of what he wanted his role in something greater than him in this business to be. He should be admired for like few of any wrestlers of our generation. The fact that he was able to achieve his level of success without developing the star attitude that the majority of people who do it would develop, and the quality of the book he wrote, speaks volumes for him as a person. But as everyone knows, this story is not without a dark side. Because of his inventiveness, coming up with dangerous ways for a guy who should be able to blend into the crowd to get noticed by the crowd, the business is far more dangerous. Injuries are more plentiful and more severe than at any time, and this can't be blamed on him, as those trends were going to happen anyway. But it was his success, not someone in ECW like Sabu, who never performed them on a national stage, that became the wrestler who inspired a large percentage of teenagers over the past 3 years that felt they were never going to have the body to be a pro wrestler or the athletic ability. They felt like they could emulate him. And hey, he's still alive, walking around, and he's a superstar. Maybe he moves a little slow, but he's living proof that you can do those things and get up from them. And that stardom, not unlike Mick Foley some 20 years ago, probably from nowhere near his passion or verbal ability, may come their way. And Foley did it without ending up like a zombie on painkillers. But nobody else in the profession is like him. Few were born with his mental toughness, his ability to absorb pain, and he's going to be testing that capacity now for the rest of his life. Few truly love the business, the history of the business, to do these things for an actual reason of being one of the legends in an industry that cares nothing about yesterday's legends. And most importantly, maybe one or two were smart enough and entertaining enough to come up with characters and more so interviews, and that's the difference between being Balls Mahoney and being Cactus Jack. Foley, after injuries, turned him into largely a comedy figure and a very successful one at that. For the last 6 months of '99, decided he would go with matches that would fit his legacy. So he put his body on the line and did things that most wrestlers in far better health wouldn't do in their wildest dreams. He pulled off two excellent matches and maybe an even better interview in his final weeks as a full time active competitor. If he does retire, few, if any, ever went out in such a blaze of glory.
And I think Dave's an underestimated writer.
I agree.
That's come from great writing. It's really profound, especially when you have to turn out the volume stuff
Every
that he
week.
does. That's really, you can say that he's wrong about something here or there, but man, that's some really good writing. It's really powerful, and to acknowledge, the pros and cons of what I chose to do all these years later. I talked about this a little bit last night, man, that every one of I'll limit it to the ones who love wrestling. And there was something Dave wrote about somebody wondered why the success of Rock and Batista hadn't ushered in a new era of great physiques at the top of the card. And Dave said, well, it used to be bodybuilders could look at the product, see it as fake fighting, an easy way to make money and get in. And now anyone with half a brain can see that's not the case. They can see that it's really difficult, takes a lot of skill and athleticism that honestly, you didn't have to have. I don't know if I could have made it in this current day because I think you need more offense than I was capable of generating with my,
Come on.
all right, maybe, but I also had the toys to play with. I don't know.
Sure.
You want to argue on my behalf. That's another discussion for another day.
We connect to characters we like.
Yeah.
And it's like in my business and sales, you do business with who you know, like, and trust. We fans know, like, and trust you. And that will
Thank
work
you.
in any era.
I appreciate that.